You really can't miss it, can you?
Oh.
AI-generated content seems to be, well, everywhere online now.
It really does. News, social media, it's popping up all over.
Yeah, exactly. And look, if you're like us, you want to get a handle on what this all means, but maybe without, needing a PhD in computer science.
Absolutely. It's about getting the essential insights quickly.
So for this deep dive, we've pulled together perspectives from, honestly, a really wide range of places. We're talking top academic journals like Nature and Science, industry voices from VentureBeat, community takes on Medium, plus reports from Harvard Business Review, PubMed Central, and others. It's quite a mix.
We've basically tried to sift through all that noise for you to pull out the key stuff.
Right. Our aim today is to really tackle the big questions, like what are the long-term effects of all this AI content? What are the main challenges we should be thinking about?
And crucially, what can actually be done? What
Yeah.
strategies can help maintain, quality and originality?
Exactly. We're hoping you'll have a few of those aha moments where things click into place. Okay, so where do we start?
Well, one of the first really fundamental issues that comes up again and again in the sources is this concept of the AI feedback loop, sometimes called model collapse.
Okay, AI feedback loop or model collapse. What's the basic idea there?
So imagine an AI that writes articles, right? It learns from tons of human writing first.
Makes sense.
But then, as that AI generates its own articles, and those get published online, well, there's a risk that the next generation of AI models get trained partly on that AI-made content.
Ah, okay. So the AI starts learning from itself, essentially.
Yep, precisely. That's the loop.
It sounds a bit like making photocopies of photocopies. Is that a fair analogy?
That's actually a great analogy. VentureBeat used that exact one. With each copy, you lose a bit of the original quality, the sharpness.
Right. And the research in Nature, what did that find about this loop?
They really dug into the degradation aspect. They found that, yeah, when models are repeatedly trained on their own output, the quality genuinely suffers over time.
And why does that happen? Are there specific reasons for this degradation?
Yeah, the Nature study pointed to three main sources of error, basically. First, there's statistical approximation. The AI only sees a sample of the world's info, right? So it's always missing some nuance.
Okay, so it's working with incomplete data from the start.
Exactly. Then there's functional expressivity. That's about the AI's own limits, like what its internal structure can even represent or understand. It has boundaries.
So inherent limitations in the AI itself.
And finally, functional approximation. This is more about the learning process itself.
Yeah.
The algorithms make tiny compromises, introduce little errors as they try to model the data.
So you've got missing info, limited understanding, and learning errors, all adding up.
Right, and they compound over generations of this feedback loop.
So what does that look like in practice? What happens to the AI's output as these errors build up?
Well, you start seeing some pretty concerning things. Any biases that were maybe subtle in the original human data that get amplified become much more obvious. Complex ideas tend to get smoothed out. You lose the nuance. The content often drifts towards, more generic or stereotypical stuff.
And the meaning itself can get weaker.
Yeah, a kind of semantic decay is how some describe it. The precision of language can lessen over time.
Wow. That really does sound like a big deal for information quality. Did the VentureBeat piece say anything about how fast this happens? Was that surprising?
Yes, that was a key point. They mentioned the researchers were actually taken aback by how quickly the models could start to sort of forget the original human data once they started feeding on their own output. It can happen faster than expected.
Okay, so that leads naturally into this related idea of data pollution, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's the next logical piece of the puzzle.
So define data pollution for us in this context.
Basically, it's the idea that the huge data sets used to train AI are getting increasingly filled or contaminated with content that was also made by AI.
Instead of just pure human writing or images or whatever.
Exactly. And that piece on Medium really drove home how hard it's becoming to actually put together clean data sets, ones, purely human-generated.
Because telling the difference is getting trickier.
It is. And this contamination, this pollution, it raises several worries. One big one is just the dilution of, real human expression. If AI mostly learns from other AI, are we losing the unique ways humans think and communicate?
That's a profound thought. What else?
Well, there's the risk of circular referencing.
Sure.
AI learning from AI that learned from earlier AI. It's like an echo chamber.
Right, reinforcing its own patterns.
Yeah. And if lower quality AI stuff gets into the training mix, it can drag down the quality of future AIs. Ultimately, it contributes to less diversity online, fewer unique viewpoints, fewer distinct styles.
It's interesting then that the Nature article specifically mentioned the growing value of data about genuine human interactions. Why is that becoming so important?
Well, if there's a danger of AI systems becoming, let's say, too self-absorbed, learning only from themselves,
Hmm.
then data that captures real human behavior, real conversations, real preferences, that becomes incredibly valuable. It acts like an anchor, grounding the AI in actual human reality, preserving some authenticity.
Okay, so if we have more AI content and it's learning from itself, potentially polluting the data, what does this do to the variety, the originality of stuff we see online?
The Science article really highlighted this risk of homogenization. Basically, if lots of different AI tools are all trained on pretty similar massive data sets,
Their outputs might start to look and sound alike.
exactly, you could get this convergence where everything starts having a similar style or feel. Less variety across the board.
Makes sense. And what about biases? Does this loop affect how biases spread?
That's a major concern raised by AI Contentfy. If the original data had biases maybe in how it represented certain groups or ideas, and the AI learns those,
And then future AI learns from that biased output.
you get a cycle that perpetuates and potentially even strengthens those original biases. It becomes self-reinforcing.
And then the big question, can AI actually be original? Or is it just remixing what it's already seen?
That's a hot debate. The perspective from originality AI was pretty clear that while AI is amazing at mimicking existing styles,
Yeah, it can be uncanny.
it often struggles with true, out-of-the-blue novelty, generating genuinely fresh ideas, pushing creative boundaries in totally unexpected ways that seems harder for AI. This could lead to what they call creative stagnation.
Meaning we just see the same concepts recycled over and over.
Potentially, yeah. A lot of rehashing, maybe less real innovation. We risk ending up with a digital landscape that feels a bit, well, repetitive.
And maybe less culturally diverse too, losing those unique perspectives.
That's definitely part of the risk. Less serendipity, fewer surprising discoveries that often come from genuine human creativity.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Beyond the content quality and diversity, there are some pretty significant ethical issues swirling around AI content, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely. Huge ethical dimensions. And one of the most immediate worries is misinformation and disinformation.
How is AI changing that game? We already had problems with fake news.
The scale and sophistication are changing. That PubMed Central article really laid it out. AI can now create stuff that's strikingly convincing but completely wrong.
Convincing how?
They gave an example of AI generating fake scientific abstracts, summaries of research papers that look so real they said it was basically impossible for any human to identify them as fake without deep checks.
Wow, that's alarming, especially for science.
It is. And the problem is the sheer speed and volume. AI can pump out misleading content way faster than humans can possibly track, verify, or debunk it. The scale just overwhelms our capacity to cope.
And it's not just twisting facts. Sometimes it just makes things up.
Right, that's the hallucination problem that originality.ai and PubMed Central both mentioned. AI can confidently state things that are entirely fabricated, presenting them as if they're real facts.
Okay, so misinformation is a huge one. What about transparency? Knowing how the AI came up with something.
That's another major ethical hurdle. The black box problem, as PubMed called it. Often we don't really know the step-by-step reasoning behind an AI's output.
So you could ask it the same question twice and get different answers.
Exactly, and without a clear reason why. That really undermines trust, doesn't it? And then there's accountability. The Issues in Science and Technology article brought this up. If an AI creates something harmful, like infringing content, who's actually responsible? The user, the developer. It's often very unclear.
That lack of clarity seems problematic, and it connects to how these things are built in the first place, right? The data they train on.
Yes, exactly. Harvard Business Review pointed out that a lot of AI training involves data scraped indiscriminately from the web, often without asking the original creators for permission.
So using people's work without consent to train the AI.
Potentially, yes. And then, when the AI generates output, it often fails to properly credit the sources or styles it drew upon. So you have issues around consent at the input stage and attribution at the output stage. Big ethical questions there.
Which naturally brings us to the legal side of things, especially copyright. This sounds like a minefield.
It really is. The legal system is playing catch-up, big time. Harvard Business Review mentioned ongoing lawsuits, like Getty Images suing Stable Diffusion.
Right, over using copyrighted images for training.
Exactly. And another case, Anderson v. Stability AI, Involves artists suing because their work was used for training, allowing AI to mimic their styles. The core issue in these cases is this fair use, or is it copyright infringement? And the answer is, well, it's still being figured out.
So a lot of uncertainty for creators and AI companies. What about the copyright status of the stuff the AI actually makes? Who owns that?
That's maybe even murkier. The Issues in Science and Technology piece highlighted this. We could have billions of AI-generated works floating around that are essentially unowned.
Unowned. How?
Well, the U.S. Copyright Office stance currently is that an algorithm can't hold copyright. And the human who just typed in a prompt, they probably don't have enough creative control over the final output to claim copyright either.
So the work exists, but nobody legally owns the copyright. It's in limbo.
Pretty much. A legal gray area which creates real headaches, especially for commercial use.
And are there regulations being put in place to clarify all this?
Things are moving, but slowly. Harvard Business Review noted that AI tech has just developed much faster than the regulations. The U.S. Copyright Office is doing a major review, as Issues in Science and Technology mentioned, but we're still waiting for comprehensive legal frameworks. It's a massive challenge.
Okay, let's talk economics. How is all this AI content affecting people who actually create content for a living?
This is a huge area of concern. The originality.ai article pointed directly to potential job losses, for instance, in journalism. If AI can write basic news reports cheaply and quickly,
It could displace human journalists?
that's the fear. And more broadly, the sheer scale and low cost of AI content generation could just generally devalue human-created work across many fields: writing, art, music, design.
Devalue it how? Just by flooding the market?
Partly, yeah. The Issues in Science and Technology article talked about artists and designers feeling an existential threat because AI trained on their work can now replicate their styles, potentially undercutting their livelihoods. There's also a longer-term worry about human skills potentially degrading if we become too reliant on AI tools.
So significant disruption for individual creators. What about the bigger picture, like the companies developing the AI? Does this concentrate power?
The Medium article suggested that's a real risk. Remember the model collapse idea. Maintaining high-quality AI might require massive data sets and huge computing power.
Which only the biggest tech companies have?
Pretty much. So access to the best AI models could become restricted, making it harder for smaller players or open-source efforts to compete. And this links back to what Nature said about genuine human interaction data becoming more valuable. Those big companies might be the only ones with enough of it.
So it could lead to more market concentration. And what about the overall business of content, the value chain?
AI definitely disrupts that. It can slash production costs and speed things up dramatically.
Yeah.
That creates opportunities for some businesses, new efficiencies, new models. But for others whose current business relies on older methods, it's a major threat. We're likely looking at a significant reshaping of the whole content industry.
Okay, with AI content becoming so common, telling it apart from human stuff is getting really important, but also really hard, right?
Oh.
What are the challenges with detection?
Yeah, the detection tech is struggling to keep pace. PubMed Central stressed the need for much better detection algorithms.
What's wrong with current ones?
Well, they often have problems with false positives flagging human work as AI and false negatives missing AI content. They can also struggle with subtle or complex writing. Plus, it's a constant cat-and-mouse game. As detectors get better, people find ways to tweak the AI output to fool them.
So the tech for making AI content is ahead of the tech for finding it.
It seems that way, yes. And the sheer volume makes human checking impossible at scale. PubMed Central was blunt. Relying on human verification just isn't feasible for everything.
So we need automated solutions.
That's the suggestion. Leveraging things like knowledge bases, large databases of facts to do automated computational fact-checking. And tracking the origin, the provenance of content, as Harvard Business Review mentioned, could also help build trust.
What's the overall effect of all this on trust? Trust in media, trust in information online?
It's not great.
Right.
Originality.ai pointed out that public trust in media was already shaky, and the flood of potentially undetectable AI content could make it even worse. PubMed Central worried about misinformation spreading even faster, and even unreproducible science potentially slipping through if AI generates convincing but fake studies. For the average person, it's just getting harder and harder to know what's real, what's authentic. It really underlines the need for new media literacy skills.
Okay, so we've laid out a lot of challenges. Let's pivot to solutions. The sources did offer strategies for keeping content quality up, right? And this idea of human-AI collaboration seems central. What does that actually look like?
Yes, this seems to be the most promising direction. It's not about AI replacing humans, but finding smart ways for them to work together.
How so?
It starts with clear roles.
Yeah.
Snapsight and Acrolinks both talked about this. Let AI handle the more routine stuff, maybe initial drafts, data analysis, compliance checks. Humans then focus on the creative spark, the strategic thinking, the ethical judgment, and crucially, the final sign-off. Humans guide the process.
So AI is a very powerful assistant, but humans remain in charge of the important decisions.
Exactly. It's about playing to their strengths. AI is brilliant at processing data, finding patterns. Snapsight highlighted that. Humans bring the creativity, the emotional intelligence, the ability to make those unexpected leaps. Both Snapsight and Acrolinks emphasize this. The goal is a partnership where the result is better than either could achieve alone.
Can you give some concrete examples? How might that work in a content team?
Sure. Snapsight mentioned AI-assisted drafting. AI generates a first pass, maybe an outline or basic structure. Then humans come in to refine, edit, add nuance, check facts, inject personality. AI could also help with distribution, analyzing what content performs well, which informs human strategy for the next piece.
So collaboration across the whole workflow. But beyond just creating together, how do we make sure the output is actually accurate and good?
Robust verification is key. Acrolinks was really clear. Always review AI output. It's not perfect. For important content, having multiple levels of human review checking facts, tone, brand alignment is crucial. Snapsight also stressed the human role in fact-checking and correcting AI errors.
Can technology help with the checking process, too?
Definitely. We mentioned computational fact-checking using knowledge bases. PubMed suggested that. Automated quality scoring tools could flag content needing closer human looks. And tracking provenance, knowing which AI tool, which settings were used that Harvard Business Review touched on, adds another layer of verification.
And transparency seems vital for trust, right? Being open about AI use.
Absolutely. Clear guidelines on when and how you disclose AI involvement are essential for your audience. And basic good practice, like rigorous source documentation for any factual claims, obviously still applies, perhaps even more so.
Setting clear quality standards also seems important. Like, what does good look like in this new context?
Exactly. Snapsight recommended having documented quality guidelines specifically for evaluating AI content. Acrolinks added the idea of fine-tuning the AI itself, training it to better match your specific brand voice or industry rules. And having measurable quality metrics helps keep things objective.
And since AI is always changing, continuous learning must be part of it, for both the AI and the humans.
For sure. Acrolinks advised constantly updating AI models with fresh data, and Snapsight highlighted that the humans involved need ongoing training to keep up with AI advances and refine their collaboration skills. Acrolinks also mentioned creating a human-AI feedback loop, using human corrections to continually improve the AI's performance over time. It's an ongoing process.
Okay, so pulling all these strategies together, if an organization wants to navigate this seriously, what are the absolute must-do priorities?
Well, first, embrace structured human-AI collaboration to find roles, workflows, feedback loops. Second, implement really robust verification, multi-level human review, smart tools, clear documentation. Third, practice transparency, disclose AI use, track provenance. Fourth, actively work to maintain diversity and originality, don't let everything sound the same. Fifth, develop internal AI governance quality standards, ethical guidelines. And sixth, stay informed and maybe even advocate for clearer regulations.
That's a solid list. How would a company actually start putting this into practice? What's a realistic roadmap?
It's usually best phased. Start with assessment and planning, understand your current processes, figure out where AI fits. Then, run pilot programs, test out human AI workflows on a small scale, see what works, learn from those pilots, then scale up, rolling out training. Finally, aim for advanced integration, maybe custom AI tools, sophisticated verification, all under that clear governance framework you've developed, which needs policies, oversight, and ongoing checks.
This has been incredibly insightful. It really paints a picture of, well, significant challenges with AI, content model collapse, data pollution, ethics, legal tangles.
Definitely. The potential pitfalls are real and need careful attention.
But it also highlights huge opportunities, doesn't it, if handled right?
Exactly. And the core message weaving through all the sources we looked at is that this human-AI collaboration piece, it's not just nice to have, it seems absolutely essential. It's the key to unlocking the benefits while managing the risks, ensuring quality and originality aren't lost.
So let's leave our listeners with a final thought. As humans and AI blend their creative efforts more and more, how might that actually change our basic ideas about what authorship even means? Or what counts as original?
That's a big question for the future.
Yeah.
It's definitely something worth thinking about as you navigate your own digital world, both as a consumer and maybe even a creator of content.
We really encourage you to check out the sources we discussed if you want to dig deeper. This whole area is moving so fast.
It really is. The conversation is far from over, and staying engaged and informed feels more important than ever.